When you came on my radar, it was for a paper that you wrote in 2016. Here was the title of it: An Empirical Analysis of Racial Differences in Police Use of Force. Maybe there's been a more controversial paper since then. I would argue it's probably the most controversial of your career so far. Tell us about that study, and you've called the results the most surprising of your career. Why is that?
Can we change the language of controversy? I mean, do you mean interesting? People are always like, you're so controversial. I don't want to be, right? Like, I'm just showing you the data. The data are telling you a weird story. That's not my fault. I'd like some nice popular data. It just didn't work out that way.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I wanted to come back to I wanted to bring you a video about a man named Roland Fryer. And Roland is an economist. And he's right here at the University of Austin, Texas, talking about a paper, a controversial paper he wrote back about 10 years ago. And it was about policing. It was about the use of force and race. And he found out some things that were quite different than what he thought. And and again, he said, now he's controversial. But again, he doesn't want to be. He wants to be just interesting. And I'm like, man, I totally get it. But again, I'm no economist, but anyone that's willing to speak up and say anything at all, it's going to be controversial. And again, man, they're speaking the absolute truth. But again, nowadays, the truth is controversial. The truth is wrong.
This is going to be the easiest paper I ever write. I'm going to go get some data. I'm going to go show that the police are biased. Finally, people are going to like me. And my grandmother's going to go, you showed that the police don't like black people. Really? What are you doing up there? Right? Like this was I had it all laid out. And then I had dinner with a colleague of mine, and I was telling him about my plan. And he says, Roland, when you work on schools and other stuff like that, you really just are in the schools. And so it's weird for me, strange that you would just download police data and not understand more about the police. He says, I wonder what the police are maximizing. A very econ kind of thing to ask. I wonder what the police are maximizing. And it dawned on me in that moment, I didn't know, nor did I think I cared. So I said, okay, fine. I didn't give him credit in the moment, but I left and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go figure out what police maximize. So I set up ride-alongs in Camden, Philadelphia, Houston, some places in Massachusetts to ride along with the police. Now, it is a hard job. And so through these experiences, long story short, I collected a lot of data. And those experiences helped me understand what types of data to collect. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And the key question, I alluded to it earlier in a bit of a joke, but the key question is not just this arbitrary, silly snapshots that some journalists, not named Barry, do a lot, which is black people are 13% of the population and they are 50% of the police shootings. I'm sorry about that, but I don't know what that has to do with the question.
Guys, it is true that black people are less than 13% of the population, but they commit over half of all violent crime in the country. So again, no wonder they're half of all police shootings. Of course they're going to be. They commit more violent crime than the other group put together. And again, we have to be honest about that. But they don't want you doing that. They don't. Because again, it goes against the narrative.
And so what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. people seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And then I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose.
Tell us about that. What was the
Oh, I mean, well, your former paper published a thing, published a report about it, and it was a 104-page dense academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. People lost their minds. I mean, it was like colleagues of mine were going, well, I don't believe these results. He's using regressions. I'm like, well, what the hell else we been using? I mean, we've been using them for ever. That's what you use. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this.
They've already got their minds made up. They don't want to hear what you had to say. They got their minds made up. Again, black and brown people are beat up by the cops or shot or whatever in much higher numbers because the cops are racist. No, that's not what the data bears out. That's not. Again, more than half of all violent crime in the country is committed by less than 13% of the population. But again, people, they can't accept it. They're like, oh, no, it's race. It's because they don't like brown people. They don't like black people. No, that's not it. And they can't accept it. They cannot accept it. Because again, their mind is already made up.
You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they said, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. So it was, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for, because, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was really, truly crazy. It was a really phenomenal experience.
There are a lot of people, many people, and this has been a realization for me over the past few years of my own life, who faced with that exact decision point would make the opposite choice. I think the majority of people actually would make the opposite.
We got to look at this. It's scary on so many fronts. Again, that's scary if you just had a baby, your wife just had a baby, and you publish a paper. That's true. But because it's so controversial, people want to harm you and possibly your family. I mean, again, I'm a father of 3, and I would be quite concerned. But again, man, what seems scarier is that the majority of people, I'm sure, would make the opposite choice. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't publish that Because again, who would want to put themselves in harm's way, possibly lose their job, their career? Again, we have truly got to understand truth is under attack.
What can everyone here learn about what allowed you to make the opposite choice? To make the choice that would force you to suffer all of the consequences you would come to suffer, some a direct result and some adjacent to it.
I don't covet what they covet. And I tell my undergraduates every year in the final lecture of my undergraduate classes, each one of them, the key to Harvard is get a great education without letting this place change you. It's really important. It can be corrupting. So not every incentive was pushing in that direction, because every day I have to look myself in the mirror and say, what are you here for? I am here because I want to solve problems. I am here because I have seen so much talent in these neighborhoods, and I know they know bullshit when they see it. So I'm not going to lie to them. I wouldn't be able to show my face in these places if I told lies to them, like, oh, I heard this result from you. The thing about it is, if you do a result, what has happened with the actual police departments is that because they actually believe the results and they're willing to reform on the lower level uses of force because someone told the truth about the others. And, you know, it's the importance of being thought of someone, of being an actual truth teller is so, so very important. Maybe not in the moment. But I didn't go to Harvard to have Chardonnay at 10:30 in the morning. I just don't want it. It's not my thing.
Guys, man, this guy, my hat's off to him, because again, he stood up to what is right, even though he was threatened. He stood up. And again, man, all of us are going to have to do it. Every single one of us. Again, I'm not saying as dramatic as him, but I think every single one of us is going to have to stand up and be counted, for what is right. Because again, man, we are truly in a battle between good and evil. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. Again, man, I could not imagine going back in time like 20, 25 years ago and saying to myself, hey, look, this is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. White supremacy. They're going to say you're an oppressor because you're a white man. And again, we're going to cut the body parts off kids because, again, we have to affirm them. And borders wide open. Millions of people are going to come across that border within a couple of years. I mean, I would look at myself and say, get away from me, old man. What is wrong with you? That's not going to happen. You're crazy. And again, it's true. It's very, very, very true. And people, they listen to these 20, 25-year-old kids. They listen, man, look, things are so much better now, they say. No, it's not. It's worse. It's much worse. Race relations have gotten worse, much worse during that time. But again, they'll tell you how bad things were back then. It's like you weren't even alive back then. Yeah, but I know. You people are racist, transphobic, homophobic, whatever. It amazes me when I see people that are like my age that lived during that time period, that understood things were better back then, but they believe now, because they've been taken over by some kind of darkness or something, they believe that things are better now. It's like, what is wrong with you? You live then. And you think, oh, because things are more compassionate now. That people are nicer. They use whatever pronouns they want them to use. It's like, man, that's not nice. I mean, that's nice. But that's not right. That's not real. I mean, again, if somebody comes at me with a big smile on their face and says, hi, I'm going to run. They want something, and it's not going to be good. I mean, again, we have to understand it's not going to be good. Run. Get the hell out of there. But again, that's what, passes as good nowadays. And again, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that way. Again, I'm not saying I'm that old, but, over half my life is behind me. And I'm pretty sure. And I don't want to live somebody else's life in my body. What I'm saying is I don't want to cater to what other people want me to do. I don't want to fall into that. That's not what I want. And I don't think majority of people want that, really. But again, people are too afraid. Not all people, but a lot of people, man, they're too afraid to stand up. Because again, they want to be liked. They don't want to be called names like racist or transphobic. And again, who cares? Who cares? Man, again, in so many years, you're going to be dead. All of us are going to be dead. So again, live your life. Be honest. Say, man, that bullshit is wrong. It's not right. No, I don't have white privilege. No, I'm not a white supremacist. No, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm sorry, but you don't. You're stupid. Again, man, we have got to get to that point, because if we don't, we're done. But guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.
You son of a